How are you today, my friend?
I am well, thank you. And you?
I'm fine. It's just hot as hell up here in the Northeast.
It is. It is. Thankfully, I have air conditioning and it works. So I'm
Yeah,
thankful for that.
well, me as well.
There you go.
Um, so what's new today? What would you like to talk about today?
What I would like to talk about today is a continuation of our discussion. Not really a continuation, just maybe a deeper dive, deeper tracks as they call the kids call about the music industry. Like you get the greatest hits, and then you go in a little deeper when you want to learn a little more about the artist. So I thought we would dive a little deeper on something that came up in the last podcast. I will drop a link to it somewhere in the show notes for the podcast version and the YouTube video in the description box below. The
By the way,
description.
speaking of music, did you
Yes,
hear that Ron Woods passed away?
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
Wow. God,
Yes. Sad.
it's very,
Very sad. A legend, an icon in the industry.
absolutely.
Speaking of music, I don't know if you can see what I'm wearing today, but I'm wearing, oh geez.
Woodstock.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Woodstock
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Yeah, cool.
So earlier in the day, I went to the market and a woman, older woman, said to me, "Nice t-shirt." I said, "Thank you." And
She there?
I said I wasn't there. And she said, "I was."
Yeah, sure.
And she didn't look old. I mean, technically I could have been there as a very
No,
little
you couldn't
child.
have. No, you couldn't have. You would have been like 5.
But if I had hippie parents, I could have been there.
Yes. Oh no.
I
No
would
question.
bet you, I'll bet
Oh,
you
there were
that
plenty of
there,
kids there. Absolutely. I
right,
mean,
there's
I
plenty of
wasn't there either.
people out there my age who were there.
Yes, I agree.
Right. I was not. My parents weren't hippies.
Right.
That said,
But you know what? That's also something like any big event, whether it's a ball game or a special situation. There's 500,000 people out there that were at Yankee Stadium when they won the World.
That's true.
When Jeter got that hit, the
That's
stadium
true.
holds 60,000 people, but there are 500.
Right. That's true. I think this woman was there though. She said
Yeah,
she
no.
was. She said she was 16, so she said she was. It really wasn't her.
So she's like 70 now.
She actually said she was 70. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the topic. So in the last podcast, the spark for the podcast was that tweet or that newscast. What'd you say? You found
Spark. I like that. The spark.
Spark, yes. Was the news article about a cheesesteak shop owner in New Jersey
Right.
who aggressively goes after people who leave negative reviews in the online review sites like Google Reviews and Yelp. And we got into the discussion about whether that's a good or a bad idea and how it goes against conventional wisdom of either ignoring negative reviews, but the better advice is to engage in that public forum in a way that shows caring about doing better and making amends for problems. And he was having no part of that. And in general, the conventional wisdom is that you should engage with all reviews and show people who are shopping for your type of product or service that you're engaged with your customer base.
Okay.
So we also started touching upon the idea that historically online reviews, and now they've been around for quite some time, there's always been polarity in online review responses, meaning that you get a lot of positive responses, positive reviews, and you get negative reviews, and the middle kind of falls out. Right. And back in the early days, there was a lot more on the negative side before it became sort of mainstream to leave online reviews. And over time, it sort of shifted much more to the positive side. There's certainly still a big imbalance and a lot of polarity, but more of it is on the positive end now. So we started talking about that a little bit. And I thought today we could dive into that a little bit more. And for everybody out there, we started looking to see what other people were saying, did our Google searches, and found a lot of articles and papers and academic research on those topics. And specifically, we'll talk about two articles. The first one, The Polarity of Online Reviews, Prevalence Drivers and Implications. And you can Google that and pull it up yourself. And then the other one we looked at is Mass Scale Emotionality Reveals Human Behavior and Marketplace Success. The difference between these two articles in a nutshell is the first one, Polarity of Online Reviews, really just takes a very detailed look at a lot of online review sites in a wide variety of areas in terms of products and services. And it's a lengthy paper, but it tries to explain the reasons why we see what we see and just sort of document what we're seeing in terms of polarity. One of the interesting things is they try to quantify all the polarity. They calculate two specific statistics. One is polarity, and that equals the number of 1 and 5-star ratings, meaning the two ends of the spectrum or of the scale, divided by the overall number of ratings. Then the other metric is positive imbalance. And that's the number of 4 and 5-star ratings, meaning the two highest ratings, divided by the number of 1, 2, 4, and 5-star ratings, meaning the two at the bottom end and the two at the top. And this is where they sort of lost me a little bit. Because what they're saying is that a 3-star rating means that the person is neutral.
Yeah, which
And I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that.
but it's the midpoint of the scale. So,
Correct.
and you have an equal number of choices in either direction.
Correct.
So what don't you think makes it a neutral? He can't even go a little positive, and he can't even go a little negative.
I think it depends on the person. I think that everybody has their own calculus, their own algorithm
Right.
for deciding what's positive and negative.
Agreed. And it's also affected by their expectation level too, how that was met. No?
That yes and no. I mean, I actually think that shouldn't be the case.
But it is the case.
Right. But if you start talking about what traditionally, go back to before online reviews, there was a thing called, like, in 1995, you knew what a 5-star hotel was, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you think that a 2-star hotel was a bad hotel? Did you think of it as a bad or negative hotel? I'm saying this because we're saying that 3 is neutral and 2 is negative, according to this paper.
Well, I think back in the day, star ratings also sort of told you what type of hotel.
Correct. It's what you were to expect in terms of
a roadside
services.
hotel. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I disagree with this.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's changed. I think triple A still exists, and they use diamonds instead of stars.
Right.
And I don't think that in many cases you can travel to a place where there aren't anything more than 3 diamond hotels or motels, and that doesn't mean that it's a bad hotel. It's just a level of service that you can expect compared to others.
Right. So go back to why you think, because I think that's interesting here. Why do you think 3 is not necessarily neutral? Right.
I mean, certainly some people are looking at it that way. They see 5 stars, and they say, all right, 3 is right in the middle, 2 is worse than average, and 4 is better than average, and 5 is the best. But I think it's a leap to say that that's how everybody views that rating. that 2 is negative. For some people, 4 is negative. Again, if you make if you look at all this data out here and you see that the vast majority are positive, hence this discussion about polarity and the positivity problem, you could make the argument that 4 is average or higher. I don't know.
I don't buy that because then you're saying that 0.1 is positive. Like there are no negatives. It's the
It's relative.
strength
It's
of your,
relative. Correct. Relative strength is the right way to look at it, I believe.
right. I don't, then there's no home for the negative guy. I know I'm biased. I'm looking at it as the business owner, how I'm going to interpret those results, even if they're just thumbs up or thumbs down.
Well, okay, so wait. So if as the business owner, if you see that 95% of your reviews are 5s,
Yeah.
would you consider 3 a neutral review?
Yeah. I don't think I do.
Just okay, let's go. We'll just keep going on. And then suddenly more 3s come in, your star average comes down. That's
I'm
not
looking
good.
at, yes. So where is the home for the negative guy in your scenario?
Again, it's relative. Let's say in my life, I've rated 100 restaurants again, right?
Right.
And 95 of them I've rated 5-star. I'm an easy grader. I love everything, right? But I had 5 times out of those 100, there was something that just I didn't like it, and I was afraid to really give them a really bad review, so I only gave them 4 stars. That's a negative review for me. A 4-star review is a negative review for me.
I get your point. And also that brings up another bias aspect of these reviews. You may be a regular there, and you got to know the waiter or you got to know the owner.
I don't want to hurt their business.
Right, you don't want to hurt them, but yet you don't want to leave a 5 too because you're lying.
Correct. So my 4 or my 3 is not neutral in that case, and 4 is not good. I'm turning you. I'm convincing you.
You're not. It's kind of an interesting.
It's very interesting, and you made this point. I don't remember when you made it. It might have been in this conversation or another time.
Yeah.
You said the difference between what we do as an online customer and guest satisfaction measurement service. I mean, that's the long-winded way to describe what we do. But the difference between what we do and what the online reviews are is that the online reviews, people are scoring and assigning a number. It's a rating. They're giving them a rating, right? Whereas we are asking a bunch of questions and coming up with a score based on the answers to those very carefully chosen and curated questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And our algorithm is designed to interpret all those answers into a numerical score.
Right. And that's why our score, our fan value score is designed to determine positive and negative. That's why we have 0 is neutral. And then we have a +1 value and a +2 value, which are relative strengths in terms of positive. And then we have -1 and -2, which are obviously relatively negative. So this article is trying to just document the positivity problem based on a couple of calculations they've made and just throwing all the data out there. They do talk about the self-selection bias, which, the methodology, and we did talk about this in the last episode also, that by and large in these online review sites, people are on their own going there to leave reviews. And you have the problem of people who are just active review. Why is somebody an active reviewer? And there's a number of reasons. If you talk to the guy from the cheesesteak shop, he'll tell you that there are people out there who are active reviewers out there to just, they're just bad people. They want to be known as the nasty reviewer and go
Too much
after.
time on their hands.
There, yeah, and then there's people who probably just they want to pay it forward. Again, 90+% of people are relying on reviews to make purchase decisions. So they want to contribute. They want to be part of that community. And you're both a consumer of that information and you're a provider of that information. So that's why reviews probably, you're finding a lot more active reviewers. And then there's if you go back to the beginning of it, you just find the people who are, really happy with a product or service, and they want to tell somebody about it. They want it out there. So if they're happy, they're going to talk about it. And if it's negative, they want to warn people about it. But it's part of our culture now. It's part of our economy. It's an important part of our economy, this user supplied data. So that's why it's out there. But they do talk about, because it's not a programmatic request for feedback, there is some self-selection bias that's part of it.
Right.
There's self-selection bias even if you do have a regular programmatic request for feedback, and we can talk about that later. But
people are opting in.
They do discuss it here. So that's it. They're just documenting and explaining the positivity problem and so forth. The other article that we looked at pretty carefully was the one called, and I said it before, Mass Scale Emotionality Reveals Human Behavior in Marketplace Success. And as you know, we talked about this before also, this one goes a step farther and talks about that it's because the ratings are so overwhelmingly positive, and in some cases, specifically, they cited Uber, where the vast majority are more than 90% are 5, so it's crazy. It dilutes the importance of the numbers, and they started talking about. You can talk about it. Go ahead.
No. I mean, they talked about how what they called emotionality. They feel that is more significant in determining future business success.
Well, I mean, it's the art. They're using machine learning and artificial intelligence to go beyond.
Beyond just a number rating scale.
Right.
And that brings up a whole nother topic. How do you objectively define an emotional response? How do you?
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, they were obviously going far beyond sentiment analysis. And there were some questions that we both had, I know, about the methodology there. But it's just interesting. We don't have to go into detail. People can find it for themselves and read it. But there were some methodology question marks that we both had about it. Okay, so we have, it's out there that there's a positivity problem. But what does that mean for both the consumer and the business owner? So I'll start with the consumer side of it. If I'm shopping for, let's take a look at Uber as an example. I'm looking for a ride and I'm in a big city. So conceivably, now I don't know if this is true as we sit here in August of 2021, because I haven't been in an Uber since March of 2020 because of COVID, but I used to use them a lot in cities. And often when I would look for a ride in a city, there were a lot of choices. There were a lot of cars you could see on the app, on the map around me. And positivity problem created a bit of a dilemma sometimes, because as you know, you would often see a driver and he or she, her let's say her ranking was 5.0 and she had 1,800 data points and she had a perfect 5.0 score. That's fantastic, isn't it? I find it hard to believe, and we don't have to get into the way Uber does all that. But let's say the first person who popped up had a 4.7 ranking. They also had a lot of people who had reviewed them. And 4.7 is actually not all that high for Uber, amazingly. If I saw that, I might try to find somebody higher. So that presents a problem for the consumer when all the numbers are skewed so positively. it's hard to make distinctions between really good businesses and not so good businesses when a theoretically 1 to 5 scale has been, rendered relatively.
It's watered down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's a business supposed to do with all this information? I mean, at the end of the day, the reviews are there, and businesses can choose to just deal with them as they come in, or they can choose to manage them in a different way. In a vacuum, the reviews provide some information. They're not a perfect picture of a business's customer satisfaction overall because of the self-selection bias. We just don't have enough data points from customers because of the way that reviews arrive on review sites. That said, the reviews are there and there's information to be gleaned from them. The review sites are important.
Yes,
They can be used, they can be dreaded, like this guy, the guy from the cheesesteak shop. He obviously dreads the online review site. Or you can choose to embrace the idea that more than 90% of people who are going to end up in new people who are going to end up in your business will have looked at the online reviews. So how do you embrace it? Well, to your point, if there are negative reviews, you have to acknowledge in that public forum, you have an opportunity to show how you react to problems in a public forum.
And not for nothing, save the customer.
Yes, you're going to save an individual customer, but you're going to also show future customers
that you respond
we
properly.
do. Just like everybody else, we're not perfect, but when we're not perfect, this is how we handle it.
Right.
Again, you have this opportunity in this public place where your future customers are looking. It's better than buying an ad somewhere. They're going there anyway. Make yourself look as good as possible in the place where they're going anyway, right?
100%.
But beyond that, that's at a minimum, that's what you should do. And to my point, or to my comment before about what conventional wisdom is on how to handle reviews, you should probably engage with all of them. Thank all the people who leave positive reviews and engage properly or appropriately with the negative reviews.
Definitely.
But beyond that, you should try to get more reviews to the site. Again, the more reviews you have out there, the more of a thriving, ongoing, vibrant business that you have that prospective customers or guests of a hospitality business will see. Certainly you want as many perfect scores as possible, but
but a vibrant business with a lot of activity in the review world is good. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're in this business, we want people, and most businesses these days do, to go that extra mile and actively have a program in place to ask for feedback from every customer and every guest in a formal survey process. And as part of that process, like we do, you should be asking for those people to not only tell you, but can you share some of this information in the public forums? It's the best place to have information out there. You're never going to you can buy all the ads you want, but most likely 90% of your future customers are not going to see that ad. Some smaller percentage are. Right?
Yep.
And that's all I thought we could talk about today.